the Charlie Munger quote: "Smart men go broke three ways: liquor, ladies, and leverage." And then Warren Buffett came behind Charlie Munger and said, "I think he just liked the alliteration. The only answer is leverage." And when you think about it, right? Leverage is the bad D word, debt.
Yeah.
And I was involved in a deal where the sponsor and the GP, the developer of the deal, is getting foreclosed on. So this deal is going to foreclosure. It's looking like it's going to be a total loss of all investors' capital. And the one main reason was he did not plan accordingly for servicing debt. Debt will take you down.
Hey, welcome back to the King's Table. This is Aaron Amuchastegui. Hey, I'm just taking over as host. We were about to flip a coin, and I said we can't waste any more time. We got 50 minutes to give you guys as much value as we want. So I stole the show from Ashish. But who is Ashish today? So Ashish is the Sultan of Sofas. He is the mastermind, the only guy in this group that's been to China, I think, and maybe does business. Oh, never mind. Matty A has been there. I've even seen videos of Matty A like crawling through like tunnels in South Korea and stuff like that. I remember seeing that video before I met Matt, and I'm absolutely terrified of going underground. But of course, we have Ashish, who is letting me take over today for a little bit. We have Matty A. Is Matty A the king of commercial? Is he the icon of industrial? He was the hero of hospitality, but he's kind of over it. He like been there, done that, made some money, and now he's on to the next. Matty, what's your favorite nickname today?
I don't know, man. I still love hospitality. I got some cool projects going on, but I'm working towards the king of commercial. I like that.
I think that Matty should be the titan of travel today, just because he just took an epic trip.
I did take
I like that.
Yeah.
The titan of travel. So we got so many titans in the room, and we have Mike the Sage Ayala. How do we say your last name, Mikey? I've only known you 10 years.
Ayala.
I said it right one of the times. I just said it.
Mike, isn't that funny how we just learned that right now? Ayala.
I answer to anything.
Ayala. Aaron, how do you pronounce your last name?
I don't even know if I say it right, guys.
Amuchastegui.
Amuchastegui. Did you see the meme that we did that was people trying to pronounce my name? And
No.
You even made the cut on that video, Ash. So you got to go deep into my Instagram of all these people trying to pronounce my name and how some of them looked absolutely terrified. It was pretty funny. Well, welcome back to the King's Table. Has it been 2 weeks? Did we not record last week? Did we let all of our listeners down?
A couple weeks.
We did.
Well, I think today, we should talk a little bit about kind of summer plans, maybe how that affects our businesses and what we're going to do with that. And then let's also pull up the YouTube, see what people are talking about in there as we sign off to one of our editors, Evan, who's been behind the scenes for so long. We mentioned last time that he is off to bigger and better. I was expecting that at least 1,000 of our million listeners would reach out begging to get the role to be our future editor. And it was crickets out there. So I'm ashamed of all of you listeners that nobody wanted to come get a behind the scenes.
They're working on bigger and better things, man.
Bigger and better things. They're realizing that is not a value add opportunity. That would just be to hang out with 4 moderately cool guys. Matty, it was your birthday week. It was also my birthday week. You are a day younger than me now. So the May 14th was your lucky birthday. What'd you do for your birthday, man?
I was fortunate that my 8.5-month pregnant wife let me go and take a boys trip to Tulum. We do our annual accountability group meeting. Usually we take an annual trip together, and it's for about a week, and we do that in September. But because of the baby, she's like, I would much rather have all hands on deck after the baby, and I'll figure out what to do without you before the baby comes. So we moved it up to May this year, went out to Tulum, got to do some hiking in the jungle, some cenotes, some ruins, some beach day clubs, lots of fancy dinners and overpriced alcoholic drinks and beverages. Tulum is an interesting place. It's kind of like, it's got Miami vibes, almost kind of like Beverly Hill vibes on the main strip, but the infrastructure feels like Kuwait or like Iraq. Like you're driving down streets that have potholes, and it's a very interesting place. I don't know if I would go back, to be honest. I've heard a lot of people, if you would have dropped me out there when I was like in my early 20s and single, different story. But
Yeah.
it's not a good place for families and relaxation. It's a little bit more upbeat and kind of vibrant and expensive, but we had a good time. We had a great time.
I got to say, dude, you were really gutsy to be 2 weeks before birth and be that far from California. It's one thing to go on a guy's trip. It's a whole nother thing to go on a guy's trip to Mexico. And then also on a guy's trip, it's going to take you at least 2 flights to get back to Sacramento, right?
Yeah. It took me 2 flights. I felt that same pressure. You know something weird, though? I have like this weird relationship that the universe, and at least in my mind, conspires to work for me. And I just knew that baby girl was going to stay put, that it was all going to work out just fine. And if it didn't, I was willing to do whatever it took to, get right back. But I made sure I had some backstops in place and support in place that would have kind of covered some gaps for me while I was doing that. But yeah, I was very confident that it was just going to work out.
Yeah. I got to say, we have some haters on our YouTube comments.
Congratulations, guys. I wanted to say we made it.
Oh my gosh. So right now we are totally like following through on this prediction. Brad Brown said, you took too long to get to your topic. First time listeners not grabbing my attention. Good luck, guys. He's gone. First time listener, last time listener. And then he had an agreement that said, Winston Smith said, I've seen so many videos the same way. I'm like, get to the effing point already. Bro,
I just want to say congratulations, you guys.
It's very interesting how short form content has literally trained people that if you don't hook them right away, they're gone, which I don't blame them. But that's also not what this show is.
Yeah.
We are not short form
content. It's not for you,
content.
Brad. It's for us. Fuck off, dude.
I did get a new viral TikTok I posted this morning. It's going to go through the roof. So for people like Brad, go look at my 8-second TikTok. It's blowing up. Mikey, what are your summer plans, dude?
Man, I'm going to McCall, Idaho with Kara's family. But other than that, this is probably the lightest year of travel plans I've had in a long time. And it's just the season I'm in. I'm being very careful and cautious on, committing to too much travel. I just have a lot on my plate. So.
Is it because your business is so stressful right now? Because you're kind of in it, you're taking over?
Yeah, my business is stressful. Although, I was saying the other day that, there's that old meme where, a day of an entrepreneur where it's like, just the ups and downs. But I literally told Kara the other night, right now, and I'm a pretty even kill guy, but right now I literally go from fuck yeah to fuck you in like 30 seconds because it's just like, so much chaos. But, Aaron, we've talked about this a ton of times. I mean, that you actually texted me this a few weeks ago, and this is why I appreciate guys like you, because it's like, that's why we do what we do, though. You can't learn to appreciate the weeks on the beach if you don't have, the times in the trenches. So I constantly come back to, I come back to this all the time. Like, I'm grateful that I get to do this. Matty, you said, the universe conspires for you, but it really is just about mindset because, I've got a lot going on right now and I've got a lot of issues and challenges, and some of them I can look back and say, I caused this. And then some of them I look at and it's like they were beyond my control. But at the end of the day, like, I'm grateful that I get to do this because there's a lot of people that, can't afford to eat and they wouldn't even know what problems to solve. So I'm glad I'm here, but I'm also fully cognizant that 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm going to be solving bigger problems. And the problems that I'm looking at today are going to seem minute.
Are we addicted to the sickness?
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
It is like, I tell you what, when I'm at my bottoms, I never feel more alive. It's weird. Like when back is against the wall and I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to miss a mortgage payment. I have a giant net worth, but my stuff is tied up and complicated, and real estate isn't, and my cash flow, and I was irresponsible with my cash flow, and I'm about to miss a mortgage payment for the first time in my life. I'm like, man, I never get up earlier and more alert. And I guess the big thing for me when I'm going through that is I got to remember to actually go break a sweat. It's amazing. So this morning I was wide awake at 4:30. I flew back from Florida last night from a 3-day family trip. Wide awake at 4:30 because of some good stresses, some bad stresses, some business stuff, some personal stuff. And I worked for like 2.5 hours. And all of a sudden it's like 7 a.m. and still like most of the world isn't up. And I'm like, I got to go for a jog around Lady Bird Lake this morning to try to clear my head and not look at TikTok and Instagram and all the short form stuff.
You know what I was telling Kara last week on date night? It's really interesting in this same thread. And I'm in the same boat right now. Like I'm up at like 4:30, and even though I'm dealing with problems, I'm like I'm going. But then you look back like 2 or 3 years ago, and I'll kind of knock on the morning routine here, but like and recognizing the seasons too. Like I'm not in a zone of like morning routine right now because like I'm up and I'm going. But I was just thinking back to a season where, I'd get up and I would meditate and I'd have coffee and I'm journaling, trying to figure out what's my existence, what's my purpose, like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to be doing? And I was just thinking back to like how many people have a morning routine just trying to find their purpose. And then yet when you're in a season like this, like I don't need a morning routine to try to figure out like, or even prioritizing. Like, what are the top 3 things that I need to get to today? It's pretty freaking clear what I have to do today, because if I don't do this today, I'm going to get my ass handed to me. So it's just interesting, different seasons.
But you said you're so close to an F yeah to F you. Do you think if you were doing your morning routine, you would be more even keeled through the process? Because it's like I don't have any energy, but then I go and I'm not good at either. I'm going through the same thing right now. When times are really, really good, it's easy to go to church. It's easy to do the morning routine. It's easier to stay focused. But are times really good because we're doing that?
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying I don't meditate, because I've literally I was just telling my assistant this the other day, the amount of like 20 minutes that I've just paused in the day and laid on the floor and just meditated to get my mind reset are a lot. So I'm not saying that I'm not, still taking care of myself and doing the thing. I'm just saying I'm not spending like 3 hours in the morning trying to, prepare myself for the day. But I hear you loud and clear. Like I do believe, in fact, there's a really great episode on the Diary of a CEO right now on the brain and the power of meditation and working out and all of that. So I hear you loud and clear. I'm not saying we shouldn't work out. I'm not saying we shouldn't meditate. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have our, downtime, our reflection time. Even for like probably 6 weeks straight, I did not take a day off. And last week was mine and Kara's 25th wedding anniversary. And I shut my phone off like at Thursday at 12. And I was going to do that for 24 hours. And I didn't do anything until Monday. So we need our downtime. We need our meditation. We need whatever it is that thrives us. I'm not saying that. I'm just personally looking at the period of time when I'm spending like 3 hours doing a morning routine and I feel purposeless, and I'm pretty clear on, I think I'd rather take this.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. I was just wondering before I jump over to Ash for the check-in, I think you just gave everybody like a really cool, quick tip though. Right? Like we are, all of us are in a mixture of excitement and chaos right now in our work and our businesses. And our seasons aren't always like that. A couple of years ago, I think all of our seasons were probably like life couldn't get any better. And we just didn't know where we were going to spend all of our extra money and our extra free time but you mentioned like, hey, if you're having a really crazy day, like laying on the floor and meditating for 20 minutes just to like get your mind ready for the next meeting or the next something. I've had this really intense business negotiation I've been working on. And I tell you what, taking my kids to the beach and being forced to like walk on the beach while Brax played in the water got the different side of my brain clearing. So if somebody out there is stressing and you don't have enough time in the day to get everything done and you feel like you're jumbled and you don't know what to do next, try that 20-minute meditation. Like pause this thing now, lay down for 20 minutes. Ash, what about you, dude? Where are you going to be in China for the summer? What are you going to be doing?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm in exactly the ditto season as Mikey, man. I am so heads down. I want to just work my way through it. You know what's funny is morning routines, going back to all that, like as an entrepreneur, there is an endless tunnel of work with like a small little light at the very end, and it just like never ends.
Yeah.
And so some seasons, like you just want to be like, look, the most stress, the thing that's going to manage my stress the most is for me just to keep working. Because if I work less, I'm actually going to gain more stress. It's like never ending. If you are lost and not knowing what your priorities are, then I think morning routine and finding meditation and like all those things are necessary. But I'm right where Mike is. I can wake up, I can pick up my phone at 4, and I know exactly what I need to attack. There's no lack of clarity. And if I push that off till 8, it'll actually create more anxiety for me than just like, let's go. Give me my phone and my sauna. Let's attack.
Yeah.
And I'm just in that season. I feel like travel, I will say this. Last year, you guys remember, we were traveling in Barcelona for 6 months. Most magical experience. We started the podcast last summer. I was in Barcelona working, living there for 6 weeks. And this summer I was planning to go to the UK, and we planned like a 5-week trip and all that. And I think that what I want to share today, so I canceled all of my trips. I canceled London, I canceled the UK, I canceled everything around it. And I think there's an interesting concept about freedom. I think when we look at freedom, a lot of people consider freedom to be like, oh, I'm going to go travel the world. I'm going to go live in another country. I'm going to go try something different. Right now, I'm in a season of freedom is actually going nowhere. Freedom is being home, sleeping in your own bed.
Simplicity.
Like sitting at your desk, like having the cup of coffee on Saturday morning and not having to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Not traveling, not doing tours, not seeing the world. And so I'm in this weird, and it's not normal for me, but like I feel like it's a good place for me to explore, because I think freedom is not always just running around the world and traveling and spending money all the time. Sometimes it's like living in the routine. And that feels free to me right now, which is cool.
Fun.
So
Yeah.
It's funny that you brought that up, because I was literally just talking about, it's always fun to go away and travel, but there's something so
Sure.
magical about coming home too, and having a home and kind of a routine and a rhythm. And as much as I love to travel and adventure and the unknown and what's around the next corner, I also have learned about myself that I bring the best of myself when I'm in rhythm and routine.
Totally.
And it is
Totally.
interesting. And to your stress point too, I think you've like really found a way to change the conversation and the relationship you have with stress, where I think a lot of people are, I guess I'll speak from my own perspective. I used to, like, whether it was in business or in real estate, when something would happen and, there'd be a fire, I'd get really stressed out. I'd carry that stress with me. It'd bleed into other areas of my life. And in the hotels, one of the blessings of the hotels was there was a freaking fire every day, multiple times a day. And so I just got desensitized to the fact that if you're trying to do big things, if you're trying to push the envelope in certain areas of your life and your relationships, there's always going to be a level and load of stress that you have to learn how to carry. And so as I became more desensitized, it just became this thing where I found calm and peace in the stress. I found calm in the chaos. And I think there's something to be said for that, because I don't know if it was Ed Milet or somebody said a quote around the level of fulfillment and success people experience is directly correlated to the level of stress they can manage and how they can handle it. And so it's like, whether you're poor or rich, there's stress on both sides of that spectrum. It's just, how are you engaging and interacting with that stress mentally? How is it showing up in your body physically, in your world, in your relationships, in your health? It's a very interesting kind of philosophical idea to pull the thread on that. And if anything, just to bring more awareness to it, of going like, how do I show up when I'm stressed? And how am I modeling that for other people?
The other thing is, everyone has a different perspective of what stress is. Like what somebody may may perceive to be a nuclear bomb of stress and anxiety, you may say, oh, that's just my Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And your Tuesday is like somebody else is like, oh yeah, that doesn't even come to my desk. Go away. That's somebody else's problem. So it's really fun. And I think you're right. I think the better we can get at dealing with adversity and problems, I always joke with my partners is like every time we have a big turd or a big nuclear bomb, it's like, God's not done with me yet. He keeps testing me.
Maybe each of us could try to share something really quickly about our businesses that are working. Because I have plenty of challenges that aren't working great right now. We are taking over management of a couple different jobs. But the most amazing thing that I did this last week, right now, for anyone that owns a business anywhere, it's summertime. And what does summertime mean for you and your business? It means there are college interns out there. It means there are people that go to college that right now they need a summer job. And they need a job for the next 3 months that is going to entertain them, make it to where they can work every day. They can practice working. They can try something new. They don't know what to do. So they're going to do it the way you tell them instead of the way that they think it should be done. And they're only with you for 3 months. So they will give you so much effort. So we are bidding out a ton of different trades right now for some of our projects in Austin. Right. So we've got tens of millions of dollars in construction we're going to be doing in the next 120 days. Right. Which is wild. And we're doing it with some trades that we've never even hired out before. So this was my process. So we put out the job interview and we got 2 interns to start on the same day. On their first day, I gave them each a very simple task. And I said, we are going to go bid out this scope. And that scope that I gave them was like, hey, interns, like we need to get a shower door contractor to bid this job. And we need to get a landscaper to bid this job. So I went through the process with them kind of in front of them and took about 5 minutes. I said, first, we're going to Google Maps and I'm going to where the address is. And I'm typing in landscaper. And we pulled up. I'm like, all right, there's 30 landscaping companies there. I'm taking the first one. I'm putting it into the spreadsheet. Here's the name, the contact, the phone number. I want you guys to go through and do that to the rest of them and fill up that sheet. And then now I'm going to call that landscaper and I call him and I do the conversation and they're watching me do this conversation live. And the first one, I leave a voicemail. And the second one, I think fencing was actually that one. The second one, somebody answers. I go, hey, this is Aaron. Are you guys doing new work right now? Yes. Do you guys do metal gates? We're trying to get a quote for some metal fencing, metal gates. Yeah. And I say, cool. We've got a bunch of these projects coming up. We actually have one that's starting in 2 weeks. We're trying to get 40 or 50 of these done in the next 90 days. Is this something you'd be interested in bidding? Oh, yeah, we'd be interested in bidding it. Okay, what's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? So I can send you that spec sheet, right? And they give it to me. And so what's really amazing with interns, right? So then I did that little homework thing with them. I showed it to them and I let them rip. And the next day, they had called like 50 or 60 landscapers and they had called 30 fencing people. And by the end of the week, we had 9 landscape quotes ranging from $5,000 to $40,000 for the same spec. That's what you get in Austin, Texas. For shower doors, our cheapest was $2,000. Our most expensive was $12,000. One of those phone calls from one of those interns pays their whole summer salary. So if you are in your business right now and you've got certain things like that your existing team members don't want to do because they know better or they're too busy. I get a lot of like, no, I don't need to call all 50 of those people. I'm like, yeah, you do. But the interns are amazing because they will do it the way you guide them and they will crush it. And these guys are changing my world this week in a positive way. So if you're running a business and you're behind, hire summer interns. So many advantages of them having there for 90 days. But I also recommend that the first day you do the work for them. Like Mike is flying out to go check out his mobile home parks by himself. Like I have to pick up the phone to show them the first negotiations, to show them the first calls every step of the way to remind them, no, I can do this. I know how to do this. I'm not going to ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. So beyond that, for you guys, any tips? I want to say quick tip, but I'm always too long-winded. I wasn't quick. So any tips of something you've done recently that's working right in your business you think other people might be able to apply to theirs?
I don't have any magic tips. You're always hacking the hack master on stuff like that. I mean, one of the things that we just like to do is, our quarterly audits around key performance indicators and what their specific roles are, doing the ratings against our core values, obviously making sure that, they're scoring their own homework, but that we're scoring it for them as well. So those are just always, nice little check-ins, but I don't know if there's anything too magical about that. I will say that we're doing a lot more training and um, kind of group discussions around ChatGPT, the new 4.0 that just came out, and a lot of the tools that are available in there. Just some really cool stuff that productivity wise, it's almost becoming an absolute necessity to operate, at least in our world. You got to understand ChatGPT. And if anything, you got to be bringing some value with it too. And so having kind of a group board and discussion where people are dropping little hacks and tips and things along those lines. I mean, it is getting insane what AI can do.
You've seen the new one, dude? It's like freaking mind blowing.
It's unbelievable.
I haven't seen the new one. Well, Matty, what's one quick tip in that you guys were like, hey, this is something that ChatGPT solved for you this week?
Well, I mean, I think for me, a lot of what I've been using it for has been like in spreadsheets and like building out some really cool stuff that ultimately you can create a product if you wanted to sell an info product or an actual tool or a resource within minutes, which is pretty wild. But now there's ways that you can actually put pictures and images in there. For our group, my accountability group, when we were out on the trip, I basically tapped into Dolly and we had a new, 5 new logos for our group, within a couple minutes. So there's a lot of cool stuff. And if you go to, I think it's ChatGPT Tricks, which is the handle that I follow on Instagram, they show all of the breakdowns of the new demos that are coming out, the different ways people are using it. It is insane how people are. You could probably pull some of them up while we're here on this call. But it is insane to see how people are using it in so many different ways, in so many different capacities of business, of life, as personal assistants. I mean, it is wild what is going on in the world of AI right now.
Dude, that is such a great tip. Like I've been using it for job descriptions for hiring.
Yep.
For writing the job description, that's simple. Logos and images are fantastic. Business name ideas as we're thinking of starting up new business names. Ash, any tips, any survival tips? Business tips,
tips?
Like drink your water when you wake up. Like
tips,
sometimes it's about survival.
Army knife. God damn, man. I think, well, there's a couple things that work wise, I'm really emphasizing coming back to the office and communication and teamwork and cross departmental communication and things like that. And so I'm playing a lot of games. Every like 2 to 3 weeks on Mondays for 30 minutes, we get out in the lobby and we just play. I'll take a ball and I'll run a little exercise, or we'll do like a little trust walk thing, or like little fun, playful games. Also, you can find that on ChatGPT. Just ask ChatGPT, hey, give me 30 good team building ideas that I can do with very minimal stuff. And so it's been really helpful because you get to see different characters. You get to see people's different ideas and how they communicate to each other. And it just becomes fun and light, and it just endorses and encourages communication and talking to each other and getting off your desk and be, all that kind of stuff. And I think people for some reason right now, like it's not always so natural. So I'm doing a lot of that kind of stuff. I also am like obsessed, going back to the work stuff, like I'm obsessed with my customer journey right now. And I literally have it plastered all over my conference room. So it's the first thing that you see when you walk into our office. It's the last thing you see. It's literally a working wall that's moving and adjusting every single day. And so I'm putting it at the center of everything that we do, and believe that will sort of be the cornerstone, and everything will get fixed from there. But I'm making it super, like, I'd love to show you guys one day, but like, it's like a working wall. So it's like a live moving thing, but people can see it every single day. And also I don't have to preach the priority of the company. It's like, we get this right, everything else will fix itself. So that's kind of the fun stuff I'm doing. Survival stuff. I will tell you some survival stuff because I'm going through some shit right now. I'll tell you some survival stuff. Number one is Take
All right.
time. Take time to make
Tell
complex
us.
decisions. Take time. Never make decisions that are emotional and stressful too quickly. Sleep. Sometimes sleep for multiple days. Get counsel from many people. I'm blessed with a decision that I have to make that there is no good decision. All of them are bad decisions. I'm having to try to make the best bad decision. And every single person I counsel is giving me different answers, followed by saying, thank God I don't have to make this decision. So what, I guess the Swiss Army knife, whatever lesson I would say is we all get blessed with really difficult situations sometimes, and they become increasingly complex as we become, as we get older or as we get more experience. And sometimes time is required just to slow it down and get a lot of counsel and own that you have to make the decision, but just be as informed as possible. And then once you're past the emotion, that's when you make the decision. I'm still stuck in the emotion, so I'm demanding that I don't make a decision yet. That's it. But yeah, I mean, we're pushing ourselves hard, man. We're trying to grow 20% for the next 5 years. So it's a lot of pressure, a lot of growth, and I want to take over the world.
Analyzing your customer journey, I think, is such a cool thing. We've done that in our software companies. But I think one of the most important parts we did it was in our real estate companies.
Yeah.
And part of that customer journey for rentals,
show you what it is. Yeah.
or for buying something, it's like, essentially we were able to track that analysis. So it's like, why isn't someone renting our houses, right? Or why isn't someone selling our houses? So step one is anyone going to look at our houses?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Can you see this?
Yeah. Tell us about it. I'll jump back to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so great. Super fast. So like, this is our conference room. Like behind this is where the camera is literally my front door. So just to make this fun and simple, I literally draw a line in the middle of a piece of concrete paper, and I go at it with a bunch of different people with different colors, and we just design the process. What's the steps? What are all the complex steps? And what is the journey we want? What are the touch points that we want a customer to live by? And I'm using the analogy of a restaurant a lot because there's multiple people in a restaurant, and everybody in some capacity is responsible for a journey. And when you walk into a great restaurant, that experience was amazing. And when you walk into a shitty one, some part of the experience sucked. And so by defining what that journey is, you can try to mitigate the risk of having a bad experience. So you go create the journey, and then all this other ancillary paper, like that's the standards. Those are like, that's the email, that's the report, that's the output, that's the system report or whatever. And so, not to get too lost in it, but yeah, I'm spending a lot of time on that. This is like my third evolution of it. And, again, we're trying to push hard. So we're trying to find the one or two things that can make us different and make us the best.
And
yeah,
just really fast on that point, because of how big your company is, I want people to understand, like, can you share how much you guys are going to do in top line this year?
We're trying to hit 95.
95 million.
9,500.
950,000. So we look good about 95. I'm really trying to break 100 this year, but if not this year, next year, for
95
sure.
million.
So $95 million a year company. And you just talked about something that ultimately you're telling me is front and center of
a
$95 million company.
It looks like a chicken shit little piece of paper, which is why I'm showing it, is that we get so sophisticated sometimes that people get lost, and it's too many emails, right, and too many charts in some spreadsheet. Nope. We're going to make this super fun and simple. Straight line, 10 lines. Who's responsible for which one? Draw write up the email, stick it on the board. That's the template. Let's roll.
But I think what I'm getting at is you guys are focused on one very important thing, which is your customer. And what is the experience that customer is having? And if you nail that year after year after year, the loyalty it builds, the referrals it brings in, the revenue growth that you experience as a result of it, everybody's Oh, my brand's got to be perfect. My email funnel's got to be perfect. My ad strategies have to be perfect.
You get the customer experience right. I talk a lot about lifetime value of customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in all of our businesses, we have lifetime value of customer. The lifetime value of the customer is stupid.
Talk about that.
Meaning that the cost of losing a customer is not your marketing dollars. It's the millions of dollars of revenue you'll lose for the next decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's much cheaper to get a customer back than it is to acquire a new one.
Yeah.
And it's much cheaper to keep a customer than it is to acquire a new one. So anybody out there that has customers, right? Like we've had to fire a couple customers that we just decided weren't worth it anymore. We said we will not do business with you anymore, and we block their IP address from booking our software. But it's always been so much cheaper to keep somebody than it is to acquire one. And the more you keep them, the higher that lifetime value goes up. I think the customer journey is brilliant. Getting to come up with that, whether you're a small company or a big one. In real estate, it's really simple. Like they either see a for rent sign or they see us on Zillow. And then they either call or email or schedule a showing. And then they go look at the house. And if they like it, they rent it. And if they don't, they don't. And so we're able to analyze at the end of it. We're like, oh, no one's renting it. Oh, have people been going to look at the house? Oh, if not, then we must have signs down, or we must be priced too high, or our pictures must look bad because they're not getting past the Zillow stage. And if people are looking at the house and not renting it, we got to go check it out because it means the quality is bad at that step of the journey. There's something that the pictures aren't capturing. If people are showing up wanting to rent it and they decide not to. So customer journeys can be simple. They can be intense. Mike, did you come up with a quick tip for somebody?
Yeah, actually, I was just going to talk about the ones that you know.
Nailed it.
I think, yeah, you guys nailed it. I think what's really interesting, Kara actually said something to me last week because Kara has joined our team and she's doing a fantastic job on the operations and running the property management team. But she said something last week. She said, "You know what I realized for the first time? We don't have a small company."
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, this is like
I've been trying to tell you.
I think there's a really important thread that I'm hearing in everything that you guys are saying that we just went through too. And I think a lot of times when we're, whether it's what we were talking about earlier, like the different traumas and climbing the mountain, I think what's really important when Ash laid out, Ash, you were talking about the complexities and now you just kind of came back to simplified. When we first start a business, or even if somebody's mapping out a new business that's listening to this, what do? You throw white sheets on the wall and you got little scribbles everywhere. But I love that you came back to that because I think we need to constantly do that. And there's Michael Gerber said this in the E-Myth that I think he wrote originally in the 70s or whatever, but the concept of working on your business and not in the business. And whenever I've thought about that, I'm always thinking about like getting outside of the business because I'm too in the weeds and I need to, come up here so that I can take the business to the next level. But I think what's just as important that I'm hearing kind of as a theme, sometimes we need to go just reanalyze even the things that we've put in place the last 2 years, because we're living in a day and age, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's economic issues, whether it's COVID. I can just tell you quickly that, we were in a huge scaling mode from 2016 to 2019. I hired a shit ton of people. We had an office of employees in Phoenix, Arizona, I think we went from like 3 employees in Phoenix to like 45 employees. And then COVID hit and we just completely downsized. We got rid of the office and we've been running a super lean team. And then Kara makes a comment like, "Hey, we're running a lot bigger business than what it might seem like from not only the outside, but the way we're treating it internally." And these traumas that we go through as investors, as entrepreneurs, it's really easy. I mean, we've all heard the story before of like, yeah, I tried to invest in a business once and it failed. I'll never do that again. But as an entrepreneur, it's really easy to get into a mode where it's like, man, we went through this huge growth spurt. And because of some external COVID type scenario, I had to implode my business and lay off. I've been through 2 seasons where I had to lay off 35, 40 people. And it's really easy as like an entrepreneur to be like, when you come out of a season like that, that trauma, you're almost like, man, I'm not doing that again. But at some point in time, you have to come to terms with the fact that, you know what, you have to do that again. And there's cycles and there's seasons, and it might be self-induced and it might be external, but we can't go to a point where it's like, I've been very conservative, and actually maybe being overly conservative has been is the reason why I'm having to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week again, is because I didn't let my team grow back with and keep up with the pace of our existing business, not even business growth, but existing business. And I love what you guys are saying even about keeping existing customers, because we know when we're on a huge growth trend of bringing on new customers, we have to grow with that. But even if you're just maintaining your current client base and you go through a downsizing, you have to build that back up, even if you're not bringing on new customers. Even if you're just taking care of the current customers, if you go through a downsizing or a restructuring, you have to build that back up. And so the thing that made us great at entrepreneurship, being able to adapt quickly and adjust quickly, we tend to not adjust on the upside back out of that. And I've realized that the last couple of weeks, but you guys are driving it home for me. Like, we have to adjust quickly on the downside, but we also have to learn to adjust quickly on the upside.
When you see an opportunity, you got to go. I have 3 pieces of news that I'm going to read really quickly. We've got a few minutes here left, and I guess maybe ask if any of you are going to bring up on any of them. So here's the 3 highlights of the day, right? So S&P 500 slipped below 5,300 after a fresh round of economic data reinforced speculation the Fed is going to hold rates, right? So new economic data says everything is better than we expected. Fed's going to hold rates. All right, cool. Nothing burger to us. That's what we've been predicting. But it wasn't a nothing burger because stocks fell because of it, which means more people than not believed the economic data was going to be worse. 2, U.S. business activity grew the most in 2 years in early May, and prices picked up. So people are increasing prices, and initial jobless claims dropped again. So that's kind of a big deal, especially since we're kind of like, we probably shouldn't travel this year. We got to focus on our businesses. I don't really want to waste the money. Like I figured, but like some people are out there spending money. In housing, new home sales disappointed their projections. And that actually made mortgage rates fall below 7% again for the first time since early April, which is kind of conflicting, right? So Fed is staying the same. How do mortgage rates fall? Well, mortgage rates can fall because of the supply and demand equation, because banks can choose how high or above that Fed rate. Essentially, they can say, I want to make 2% on every loan. But if they're not doing any loans, some of the lenders out there are saying, hey, we can do a smaller spread. So even though the Fed rate stayed the same, some lenders are saying, wait, new home sales are down. We got to make loans happen. Let's do loans for less to make it happen. I emailed a lender a couple of days ago and said, hey, I need to get a land loan on this piece where I have a piece of loan expiring on it. And they were so excited to give me a land loan at 7%, like 12% just land. I was shocked. So any of those pieces of news, a big deal, or we could jump into the president in the Middle East that died this week.
Yeah, that's also very interesting. I'll just share something super fast. I think we have been spot on. I think we're on the interest rate thing. The economy data is interesting too. I was at Disneyland yesterday, busy as hell. I've been traveling the last week or two, man. People are spending so much money. It is crazy.
It is crazy.
So stock market is showing the information right, man. People got money. They're spending it, and they're using their credit cards. So I have a really close friend of mine. His brother owns a debt settlement company. Those guys are like basically growing by double digits every month right now. You know, you have debt, you pay them over a certain amount of time until about half of your debt is paid, and then they call American Express or they call your Visa or whatever, and they settle for you.
Yep.
They have the amount of growth they're experiencing is just insane. So I think we've talked about all this stuff on the podcast. So I think we're spot on all the trends.
Well, I love what, I don't know if you saw Cody Sanchez's post the other day, but she said, she posted the Charlie Munger quote, smart men go broke 3 ways: liquor, ladies, and leverage. And then Warren Buffett came behind Charlie Munger and said, I think he just liked the alliteration. The only answer is leverage. And when you think about it, right? Leverage is the bad D word. debt.
Yeah.
And I came back from vacation. I had some really great news coming back from vacation and some really bad news coming back from vacation. One of those was I was involved in a deal where the sponsor and the GP, the developer of the deal, is getting foreclosed on. So this deal is going to foreclosure. It's looking like it's going to be a total loss of all investors' capital. And the one main reason was he did not plan accordingly for servicing debt. Debt will take you down. And if you don't get a wrap on those things, whether you're just a traditional consumer, you got credit card debt, or you're a real estate investor and you don't have a plan for how you're going to service your debt or proper reserves for when the market shrinks or contracts or banks do what they're doing, right? Kind of holding terms a lot more hostile than what many people have seen over the course of the last few years. Those are the things that can, really cripple people. And so I just thought that was interesting on that debt word. It's continuing to come up more and more, right? In the commercial world, we're seeing a lot of debt resetting or coming due over the course of the next few years, and that could be a major challenge for a lot of people. So looking at your debt and not only how it's impacting you today or in the short term, but also stress testing and running different scenarios of how it could potentially hit you in different ways in the future. It's really important to be proactive with your debt instead of reactive, or else you're going to end up getting foreclosed on, like this scenario, which was absolutely avoidable in my opinion, with this particular individual. Or right, for people that are going, man, I was just charging it on my credit card. I didn't realize I was paying 18% interest. And, you look up a year later and you're like, I can't even pay my credit card anymore.
Yeah. Something I want to add to that for people too, is a lot of times in those scenarios, when a fund gets foreclosed on, some of the big investors own a large enough percentage that it hits their credit and it hits their personal guarantees. And whenever people are early on investing in syndications, there is no thought of losing 100% of your money. There's also no thought that if this guy that I'm trusting gets foreclosed on, it's going to hit my credit and my pocketbook. It's definitely not smooth sailing.
I'm going to say this. Let me say this, okay? I want all W-2 employees to hear this. When the amount of debt and the amount of inflation and the amount of debt that people are putting on themselves personally, what this ends up doing is it ends up putting people in really difficult personal situations. Most of America doesn't have enough. What is it, like the savings rate? Like they don't have enough for like $400, or they don't even have $1,000.
Like $1,000 emergency
when
kind of
something
thing. Yeah.
bad happens, your car breaks down, you have a health emergency, you need 20 grand, you need 10 grand. You do stupid things.
Yeah.
You do stupid things. You can assume whatever that means. You do stupid, unethical, illegal things. I almost want to make a public service announcement that says, hey, listen, don't do stupid, illegal, dumb, unethical things. Talk to people about it. Ask your boss for help. I'm sure many owners will help you. Your bosses will help you. Don't do stupid things. People put themselves in corners, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then they do things that are basically unrevocable. Like you can't fix that problem.
That is exactly what happened in this scenario. If this person would have asked for help, tried not to solve it all on their own, leverage the brilliance of other people that want to help them and have the ability to help them, instead of trying to solve it by yourself, and then you get in a position where you think you can get in front of it and you do things that you shouldn't be doing, that hopefully you can
no one will catch me
and
if
you
I
can
do
go
this.
and fix it on the back end, and it'll all work itself out. And you start rationalizing these irrational or unethical or very poor decisions. That's where people literally hang themselves with their own noose.
Yep.
Chris Harder always says, bad people don't do bad things. No, good people don't do bad things. Good people in bad positions do bad things.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I've been there. If we were going to summarize anything, man, it sounds like a downer of a podcast we've had today. Not really a downer, but we've talked real life. Like there's times Man,
hey, this is real shit talk, man. This is real stuff.
We talk about our $1 million wins. We talk about the giant check and the new deal that I'm doing. I also share about how weeks prior I was freaking broke again because I put in all the chips all the time. But that last thing that we just came to really is true magic. And I wish that I had known it sooner and realized it. I guess for me, it's gone pretty well with that after my prison stint. But before that, maybe not so much. But but I had a couple guys came to me recently, a couple businesses came to me asking me for loans, right? And it was similar scenarios. And I said, like, well, have you told your investors yet? Because they're like, we are in trouble. We've missed this, and now somebody can take the company. And I was able to look at the contract documents and go, no, you actually have an extra 4 days to solve this. So why don't you go to your investors? And their biggest fear was going to their investors. They did not want to go to their investors. They didn't want to go tell them what happened. And it was like, the only people that can help you are your investors. And believe it or not, they got freaking rich because they dealt with shit like this all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Like if the people that are struggling would go to their investors, they're their investors could say, I've done that before. And here's how we solved it. Another one, it's like, it is sad that the other part of an entrepreneur is so much of the time we feel like we are fighting the fight.
Yeah. Don't suffer in
by
silence.
Ourselves. We suffer in silence. We think it's a badge of honor. But just know that if you are down and out and you are at that bottom, there is someone out there that cares about you, that is smarter and more resourceful than you. And this is just another Tuesday, right? Like that's the other reality. Like the stuff we're going through right now that pains us, we prayed for it. We couldn't wait for these problems. Like we wanted this so badly, but the guys that are our mentors before us, this is just another Tuesday. And when somebody's getting in their first lawsuit right now, they are freaked out. They're crying. That's my Tuesday. That's weekly. That's monthly. We're recording. We're doing legal stuff all the time. Those are my final thoughts. I thought that really, really important that we highlight that. Guys, we're back on next week. We'll talk about foreclosures and other news. Any final thoughts from anybody?
Good shit. Stay in the grind. Keep on going, baby. Upwards and onwards.
Guys, if you liked this, if anything was good, please share this, send it to your friends. Shout out the King's Table. We don't make money on this. We do it because we have a lot of fun. These are the three guys I love talking to every week, but you guys get a behind the scenes look on it. We would really appreciate if we said something of value. If you tell one of your friends about it, we could try to change some of their lives too. For now, the King's Table signing out. Matty, Mikey, Ashish. I'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.